Well, it's already one of the most popular new electric cars on sale in Australia, and now there is a brand new Tesla Model 3 here. It has a fresh exterior, reworked underpinnings, new interior, a lot more tech. So let's take a closer look. The Model 3 is second only to the Tesla Model Y for popularity in Australia, and in some respects it can be regarded as the vehicle that really put electric cars on the map for a lot of Aussies, with an appealing price, strong real-world range and out-of-the-box functionality and tech. This update pretty much ushers in change everywhere as Tesla looks to cement the Model 3's sales dominance against newcomers including Polestar, Kia, Hyundai and MG. Now, definitely don't mistake this as a light once over. Tesla has basically said that half the Model 3 is new as part of this update. So yes, there is the styling, which in my opinion looks a lot sharper, a lot more purposeful. I'm a big fan of it in the flesh. But underneath, you're getting significant chassis changes, new tech, even things down to the acoustics package. It's said to be a lot quieter on road. So from afar, it looks as though Tesla is looking to push the Model 3 into more premium territory than before. Despite that though, there've only been moderate price increases, so this entry Model 3 that we're driving is still just a pinch over $60,000. The Model 3 is a bit outdated where warranty is concerned, covered by a relatively stingy 4-year, 80,000 kilometre provision. A better drag coefficient means the entry Model 3's range increases 22 kilometres to 530 k's claimed. But otherwise, everything else here is carryover for the Model 3 drivetrain, including recharge times. So there's definitely not wholesale change inside the Model 3, but there are enough noticeable minor changes to really make a difference between the pre-facelift model and this new model. Things like the ambient interior lighting, the ventilated seats, the reworked steering wheel, even the removal of the gear selector stalk. That's now done by a function on the touchscreen. And I think when you put all of those little features together with things like the use of different materials, it feels decidedly more like a luxury car than a tech-orientated car than before. So I think for that reason, occupants are going to find it a more comfortable place to be. The other talking point here, we know that the Model 3 has 8 carryover exterior cameras. Well, now there's an interior camera as well. So when the car is parked up, you can have a live stream of what's happening inside. The Model 3 storage offering is quite generous up front too, with roomy door pockets and a big bin dividing the front seats. Meanwhile, indicators on the steering wheel is a new plate borrowed from the likes of Ferrari. Okay, so the infotainment, we know it's a huge talking point with any Tesla model, and as ever, it is the nerve center for the entire new Model 3. So the screen itself, 15.4 inches. It's a little bit brighter than before. It's said to be more responsive, and it's also thinner than before. The screen itself is thinner. Otherwise, you have all the functionality of the Model 3 before this one. It's really easy to use, and I think it's one of those systems, once you spend enough time in it, everything else seems a little bit foreign and antiquated. The other big talking piece here with tech is USB-C chargers. So now we only get one up front and 2 in the rear, but the one up front is now a 65-watt USB-C port. So hypothetically, it means that you could plug in a MacBook Pro in the front and a MacBook Pro in the rear, and they would both charge at a lot faster pace than before. The Model 3 once again runs its own race where infotainment is concerned, missing out on many conventional technologies despite ongoing industry criticism, even AM radio. But the stuff Tesla does persist with, there's no doubt it executes them well. Safety is a more comprehensive story with every box ticked. Well, as ever, the rear seat of the Tesla Model 3 offers sound proportions. There's plenty of passenger amenity when it comes to storage, comfort, and all the rest. But the big talking point is this new center touchscreen. It's an 8-inch center touchscreen with its own access to different apps like YouTube, Disney, you name it. You can control your own infotainment from the rear seat. It's a really clever feature, and it's one of those Tesla features that you think, well, why hasn't someone thought of this beforehand? There's always been greens in the back of headrests, but the way this is configured and the way that they've done it is really quite clever indeed. Otherwise though, you're getting rear air vents and you're getting the same carryover glass roof. To me, on a hot summer's day, I know this is probably a fairly contentious view, but I'd rather just have a conventional roof because this gets really hot. Further back, the boot area is surprisingly roomy and family friendly,
capable of squeezing in a designer pram or a couple of full-size suitcases. Less accommodating is the boot lid itself, which sits precariously at adult head height when fully opened due to the Model 3's lift-back design. The other big bone of contention is no spare tyre or inflation kit, meaning if you get a flat, you'll be relying on a technician or worse still, a tow truck.
So it's clear this isn't simply a reskin Model 3. Instead, Tesla has gone to great effort to inject more refinement and polish into the Model 3 underbody, and the driving experience is a perfect demonstration of that. So let's run through some of the changes. Frequency selective dampers, we've seen this tech already in play in the likes of the Kia EV6. That's a former Car of the Year winner for us, and a big part of it was its Aussie ride and handling tune, and indeed those dampers. So how they work is that they change their response based on the frequency or the speed of the bumps underneath. So if you hit a sharper bump in the road, it'll offer more compliance. Or if you hit a slower, drawn out imperfection, it'll offer a stiffer response to basically give you the best of both worlds in terms of control and in terms of cabin refinement. We've also got new suspension bushes, we've got a stiffer chassis designed to reduce body flex, we've got new windows, and we've got more sound deadening inside the car. So when you put all of those elements together, it is clear that Tesla is kind of chasing a more refined driving experience. And based on this first impression, they've definitely achieved that. It is definitely quieter inside the cabin. It has now kind of opened itself up to being more of a driver's car. But it's still not a car that's going to appease purists, I think, from a traditional ride and handling perspective. So the ride we'll get to, I think it nails it, but there are other areas where it could be better. So the steering is the obvious one. We took issue with it in the Model Y last year, and for me it's the same with the updated Model 3. Even in the softest, most docile steering setting, it is so immediate off center, and it kind of makes the car feel darty, and not in a good way. Given the way that cars are conventionally tuned with their steering, I think this could be closer to that. It doesn't need to feel so digital and so immediate in its response. The accelerator pedal is nicely modulated, no problems there. It pulls away in a really linear fashion off the line. If you want to call on more acceleration, it'll do that. If you want to gently work your way along the speedo, it'll do that as well. Same with the braking pedal. It offers nice immediate response, and it feels linear all the way through the pedal, so no complaints there. My issue is with the regen brakes. So a lot of cars now, Audi, Kia, Hyundai, Volkswagen, are offering these regen brake pedals. They're a great way to modulate the power of the regen brakes in an instant. So if you're going down a big decline and you know the car's gonna pull itself off the speed limit quite fast, you can relax the regen braking and allow it just to coast down a hill. With the Model 3, you can't do that. It does have adjustable regen brakes, but it adjusts them itself, which is a little bit of a gripe from my end. I think, you know, it'd be a very easy thing just to have a button there to relax the car, to give you that coasting ability and to kind of make it feel freer on the road. As a result, it does feel quite bound up. But in every other respect, the Model 3 does take a step forward dynamically. It's definitely quieter inside the cabin. The ride is more controlled than before. I wouldn't say it's a dedicated driver's car, that'd be a stretch, but it definitely feels better acquitted in a variety of scenarios. We've done a little bit of dynamic driving today, and even there, it's quite balanced front to rear. It controls its body quite well through corners for a 1700 kilogram car. And it's definitely not short on power. Like, this is the entry rear drive car, and I'd be quite happy with that. Electric cars, I can't really see the sense in going for the top spec thing when really their party trick is to go flat out in a straight line, accelerating, but then not really giving you the feedback and the theatre that a lot of people expect from a performance car. So for me, I think this is the pick of them.
The Model 3 isn't without its quirks, and even by Tesla's standards, it does not conform to many modern car conventions. But the execution here is impressive, and so too that battery tech. We extracted about 390 kilometres of range to a full charge, which is well short of Tesla's claim, but still quite a compelling figure for this price point.
Whether you're a dyed-in-the-wool Tesla-phile or you're simply dabbling in the EV space, it is very hard to overlook the charm and appeal of the updated Model 3. better to drive, more luxurious, and with more equipment than ever. And what's better yet, it still has the same value equation and all the same running gear underneath. It's easy to see why the Tesla Model 3 has been so popular, and it's probably safe to say it's going to be a sales darling for a while yet.